What if you didn't just market this way, but you found one of these ways and you used it to the client journey and experience? So your intellectual property is not just used to generate clients, but to actually improve the client experience. Book, workbook, and course. That's the thing, because the workbook's easier to create off of the book than the book was to create, but it's worth it. Adds value. And then the course goes along with the workbook to give them the description of how to use it. And there's programs where that's all really inexpensive to host and put that stuff on there. Like, if you want the book to be good, there's 4 elements of a really good book. And this is what is required for word of mouth. Number 1, what's the big idea? Having a big idea relates to, if we use Myers-Briggs personas, that there's 4 main personas in Myers-Briggs. There's the competitive, there's the humanist, there's the methodical, and there's the spontaneous. And so each one of these pretty much appeals to one of those aspects, which are the different types of reader. In my world, the money persona, the striver, the one that like is going for the best and they want the best and they need the overview, they don't want all the details. So the big idea is very much the hook. The second thing is the nuts and the bolts. That's the engineers, right? That's the methodicals. They need the nuts and bolts behind the idea. The third is entertainment. That's the stories, and that's for the humanist. I think Oprah Book Club, like, how do you get them to feel that personal touch? And the fourth one is hope. Hope's for the spontaneous. Like, how do they leave feeling like a sense of, okay, this is possible? And if you have big idea, nuts and bolts, entertainment, and hope, that is going to create a book that has more word of mouth to it. And you already realize that you have a lot of the facts and data that would only appeal to a certain type of reader. So how do you appeal to the other 3 types of readers? And the question is, can you have a co-creator that helps you do that so it doesn't just get tabled? Because we know that if the book's out and there's a workbook and a course behind it, it's going to help elevate you as an expert and ultimately going to create efficiencies in your business. I had this guy that I was in business with for a long time. He was a landmark forum leader. His name's Ron Zeller, and this was something that he taught me, was there's really like 4 ways you look at something in order to have it be throughput. The first is, what are you doing now? Doing now means it's getting done in the next 2 weeks. So you carve out time and space in your calendar and treat it as a meeting. So it's not a task list, it's a time frame. Then what are you doing later? These are things that aren't happening in the next 2 weeks that you can revisit on a daily or weekly basis to find out when it moves into your calendar. The third thing is really important. What are you never doing? What ideas are there out there that aren't your idea that you still kind of are entertaining or it's occupying space in your mind? It's time to let the world take that. Just move on. And fourth, what's your parking lot? Parking lot is these ideas you just don't have bandwidth for right now that you put there that you could always revisit, and then you move it into doing now, doing later, or never doing. And when you start looking at that, it's going to help you create your flow of how to deal with intellectual property. What's the priority of what to get done? And to me, that's a 90-day objective. What do you want to have in the next 90 days for 5 things? Like, what are the 5 things in the next 90 days that you want to have complete? That you could measure, that you could say, yes, that went well, whether it's a certain amount of success on the webinars, whether it's having a book done, whether it's having the video course complete, whether it's having adding an SMS message or whatever it is, like what's going to help you to be more effective so that you're getting more out of the effort you're putting forward. And just for the 90 days, anything outside of those 5 objectives, move to not now, move to the parking lot so that you can really focus and not get distracted. Because part of it is there's always more that could be done, but should it be done? Because it's going to start, like intellectual property is one of those things that so easily gets crowded out because it's the most optional thing. It's not urgent, but it is extraordinarily valuable. Yeah, and sometimes like I do well first thing in the morning on those things, like when there isn't as many distractions, because as the day goes on, more and more noise and email and like there's just a lot that could start to happen. So like, but you just find what's your best time for creativity or for creation. I really like this productivity planner by Intelligent Change, because you could say what the project is that you're working on, and then you just do it in 25-minute increments. And that way you just set a timer, do 25 minutes. And that means like if another meeting runs long and you're like, I only have 25 minutes, great. Just do one Pomodoro, just do one little segment, and then you're working towards it and you're thinking progress over perfection. I learned that with like exercise. I used to think, oh, I don't have a full hour. Well, this morning I had 10 minutes. So I just did 3 exercises to failure, and that was my workout. Done is better than perfect, progress over perfection. And I also think it's not just getting it across the finish line to get the value out of it. It's getting it out of your mind. Like, oh yeah, I still got to get that done. And it's like, it sometimes robs our leisure because it's like always kind of running in the background like a computer program. What if you didn't just market this way, but you found one of these ways and you used it to the client journey and experience? So your intellectual property is not just used to generate clients, but to actually improve the client experience. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.